Welcome to Interior Analysis. I'm Evan Westman,
I'm Jelani Kelly.
and today we're doing Wonder Woman 1984. So this came out, I think, 2 days ago as of recording this. And before we say anything else, spoiler warning: if you haven't seen this, we are going to spoil it.
The
At least
entire episode. There's no non-spoiler section of this, so you've
probably
been
not.
warned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything to say about the ending, but yeah. So I watched this the night it came out. So I think it came out like noon Eastern time on Christmas Day. I watched it that night, and you just watched it today, right?
Yep, at around 3 o'clock. So
Okay. So, all right. I'm just gonna say from the outset, I don't have much nice to say about this. So if you didn't like this, be warned that I'm not gonna be nice to it. I don't know about you.
I'm gonna be nice.
You're gonna be nice.
I liked it.
You did?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
I did not. So this will be interesting. I was expecting you not to like it. I was gonna say like maybe don't stick around if you didn't like it. I mean, I kind of am approaching this as like hoping to make this cathartic for people who didn't like it. But you,
Well, let me start off by saying I have a connection to this movie because my mom thinks she's Wonder Woman, or sorry, is Wonder Woman. She'd want me to say
oh,
is Wonder Woman.
okay.
Yeah. Don't tell, don't tell nobody I said that. But
I mean, you literally just put it out in public, so I don't know what you're trying to do here.
But she has a special connection to Wonder Woman, and I watched it with her. She called my brother and my stepdad out and was like, "We're watching this movie a couple days after it's out. We were on FaceTime and we reacted to it simultaneously. All of our movies were playing slightly ahead of one another. We couldn't get that synced up perfect, but yeah, so I already had a connection with this movie before even going in, or just, I guess, the Wonder Woman character in general, because, like I said, about my mom. So, yeah, I don't think I could have hated this movie in any manner to begin with, but I still enjoyed it.
Okay. I absolutely did not have that reaction. And I went into it like thinking it was going to be decent. I only just saw Wonder Woman 1 this past week just to get caught up.
Hmm.
And I liked it. Like, there's certainly flaws to be noted, but it had some good scenes. The No Man's Land scene.
That's the one everybody talks about.
Yeah, and like I'd actually seen that scene just real quick on the first movie. I had seen that scene before, like I watched just the individual clip, but then what I didn't realize from just watching the clip is like that's the moment, like the first time she's in like full Wonder Woman costume,
Mm.
and the first time she like actually like gets to be Wonder Woman in the movie. I didn't know that context,
Mm.
and it really hit different because of it. I'd probably already seen the scene like 2 or 3 times, but then watching it that time, I was like, "Oh man, this is like a really big moment."
Hmm.
The fight after that too is awesome in the German town there. Like that
Yeah.
was probably the best. Those two scenes, like that 10 minutes, was probably the best part of that whole movie. But yeah, going into this, like I'd seen the trailers, and I gotta say, like this is just a bad movie. I'll hear you out on your reactions, but I don't think you're gonna convince me otherwise.
I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to state my points.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get into your initial reactions then.
So I did a tiny bit of research, and meaning I watched only two videos on the
Okay.
villains of this movie, Cheetah and Maxwell Lord. Their origins are actually nothing like what they did for this movie, but I'm saying origins meaning they both have multiple origins because comic books. So
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed what they did with this movie with the Dreamstone thing because it connected to Wonder Woman as the Dreamstone was made by the Greek god of lies. I forget his name. It was something ridiculous. But it also, like, in doing that, it also connected the villains in a way that made sense instead of them just being like, "Hey, aren't you my cousin? Yeah, we're
Hmm.
cousins. So let's do that. Like Cheetah had a valid reason, and I thought they were gonna go like, for some reason I thought they were gonna go like a jealousy route, like, oh, Wonder Woman's taking on the spotlight, kind of like how they did Electro in the
I
Amazing
was thinking
Spider-Man
Electro
2.
too.
Yeah, she was also really nerdy and that whole thing, like before she got her superpowers, and I'll touch on that in a second. It made sense why Cheetah was teaming up with Maxwell because, she wanted to protect her powers because she thought it gave her confidence and all this other stuff. I liked the change. It made sense for the context of the movie, in my opinion. And back to the confidence thing, like, I was defending this in one of my friend group chats, like, it was 3 against 1. 3 of them said this movie was mid to trash tier. And I was like,
Hmm.
nah, 7 out of 10. They said like 4 or 5. I disagree. And one of the points one of them made was the fact that he's sick of the cliche, I'm not pretty with glasses on, and then, the heels and no glasses and hair makes the woman sexy. And then I just thought, like, wait, isn't this set in the 80s? And weren't most 80s rom-coms exactly this premise? Like, doesn't that feel like, to me, that made sense as like an homage to the time the movie was set in. And he also made the point that the movie didn't have to be set in the 80s, which I kind of agree with, but
Yeah.
realistically, it made sense that it could have been set in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, but it could not be set in modern time because then they'd have the problem of running into the superheroes that have all emerged in the modern day. Aquaman, Superman, any one of them could have helped her in handling this freaking disaster that
Right.
nearly
It's
the
kind of
world
like the
ending
Captain
at the
Marvel
end.
thing where like they're
Right.
not
It
saying,
had to
"Oh,
be set
what
in the
like calling
90s.
Iron Man. Iron Man wasn't there
Yeah,
yet."
exactly. And now they continue to, like, it was in Spider-Man Far From Home too. Like, they have to continue to come up with the reasons as to
Mhm.
why the heroes can't help each other when realistically it's supposed to be a solo movie, so the heroes are supposed to be dealing with the problems on their own. So that's why Superman, I don't know what Superman was doing at this time. He must have been at least like 20, no, probably younger. Yeah, it made sense. My friend also said like they could have made more use out of the like the 80s whole thing, which yeah, sure, they could have done that. But there's more stuff I'll get into, but give me some of your takes.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely gonna disagree with you. Like, there are motivations there for the characters, I guess. Here, I guess, is my thing with it. This just feels like a legitimately bad script. I think this feels like somebody's first script, and I have kind of a frame of reference for that because of I do coverage for a job that I'm working. So I read a lot of like inexperienced writers' scripts, and this reminded me like I saw a lot of mistakes being made here that those scripts have. And I'll get into that later. I mean, like I don't want to tell you that like you're wrong to like this cuz you're not, but I also just think this is truly an objectively bad movie. I don't really know where to start. Honestly, I was expecting you to not like it either. Here's the thing though, like I'm not going to try to pull too many punches with this because I think a lot of people didn't like this and it
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, I've been looking a little bit on the ratings online. They're not great and people are like kind of like what the heck happened with this? The first one was so good and this is like what is this?
I'm not understanding what people aren't liking though. They're just saying it was bad. Like, what about it was bad?
You know, normally I would disagree, but honestly, that essentially is my critique. I have points to back that up. So, for better or worse, I think I might end up spending this episode kind of trying to not convince you that it's bad, but like listing why it's bad. Because there's a lot of like really bad writing choices that were made in this, I think. Whether you like the content or not, like they were just not good decisions that were made at a writing level. And I kind of want to give them a pass. on this because it truly feels like there's something that went wrong at us at like the studio level. Maybe they couldn't get a writer. Maybe there were pandemic restrictions because this was set to come out in like June, right? Initially,
I think so.
I feel like it was around then. Like everything kind of shut down in March, so maybe that cut into their filming. I don't know. I guess
get into it, Evan.
I can't. Like it's just a bad movie.
Start with the villains.
I don't care if you like it. Like if you like it, that's fine. But like this is a really bad movie.
Yeah, but I need you to break down why.
Okay.
Like, start with the villains.
I'll break down why.
Something.
I'm not gonna start with the villains. I'm gonna take this from like a very objective writing position to start with. Because my problems are not with the content. My problem is with the execution. Like I think there is a good movie in here that could have been made. I don't think this is good though. Like I think this is one of the worst possible versions of this story. The first thing I noticed was like it's just really inefficient. Like I was watching the first scene, I was like, all right, this is okay. Like it's kind of taking a long time, but whatever. And then it spends the next 20 minutes like just with Diana and Barbara being like awkward together. Like that's a long time to do it. And there's a lot of dead space like that the whole movie. And like, you know, I'm not someone who stands by the like beat sheets or like the perfect 3-act structure where it's like you got to have your inciting incident within the first 15 pages or something. But the inciting incident in this, I think I checked the time, it doesn't come until like 30 minutes in, and that's mad late.
What's the inciting incident?
From my interpretation, feel free to debate me on this because I could be wrong, but I would call the inciting incident when Pedro Pascal gets the Dreamstone initially.
Okay.
Because nothing is really catalyzed until that happens. Like, that's the first time Wonder Woman has to start doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I would call that the inciting incident. That doesn't happen until 30 minutes in. And there is not a lot in those first 30 minutes otherwise. Like, the setup just takes such a long time. It does so little in so long. And that continued, too. Like, it wasn't like after that point where we were, like, off to the races. It was like we still were just slogging through. Like 50 minutes in, there's still basically nothing happening. It just was structurally really messy, and like the pacing felt really off to me. I really felt so like there were some things that felt like they were trying to have to do some heavy lifting in this. Like I kind of got the sense, I haven't read the script, but I felt like there might have been some unfilmables in the script. And for those who don't know, an unfilmable is like a line that like talks about something, and not a line that the actors say, like an action line in the script, like that's supposed to describe what's happening, and it'll say something like telling you what the character's thinking. Like Diana looks at Steve and like in her eyes we see all these thoughts, and it's like stuff that the audience isn't going to get from it. I don't know for sure what the script looks like because I haven't read it, but I got the sense there were a lot of unfilmables in this. Like when Steve comes, let me ask you this. When Steve came back and it does that thing where it like pans around them and that other dude's face like morphs into his, did that not confuse the hell out of you?
No, it was confusing up until he got to the mirror. My brother was confused and I got it. And once it got to that point, I was like, oh, he's in another dude's body. Now that didn't make much sense to me. Why did he need to be in another guy's body? I didn't understand that.
Yeah, and I'm okay with like how they brought him back. Like one of my first notes is before I even started, I wrote, how are they going to Captain America Steve's ass back into this movie? Because like there's no good way to do that. And I'm fine that they did that. It's just that first visual feels like it's supposed to explain everything. It's like, oh, he's this guy, but actually it's Steve. And I was like, no, that doesn't explain anything. Like, what is that? Did he morph into this dude's body? Is he like weirdly aged now? And his face is like off? Is this his grandson? And then it was basically explained like, oh, all Diana sees is Steve. And I was like, fine, we can run with that. But that first visual felt like it was supposed to be explaining stuff, and all it did was confuse me.
Yeah.
Like, that is not good.
To your point about it feeling like slogging through, I don't think it's slogged through per se. I think There was one point during the movie when I realized it had, like, we hadn't gotten to an action scene until we reached that convoy
Yeah.
in the Middle East since the very beginning when she stopped those thieves.
Yeah, that's like
And I
an
was like,
hour between those two scenes, I think.
but for me personally, I was fine with that because it felt like they were showing they don't need unnecessary action in order to continue the movie. Like, every action scene in this movie felt purposeful. Like, there wasn't just dumb action scenes like, hey, I'm here to stop a robbery because there's a robbery taking progress out of nowhere and this is going to take me away from, developing these characters or doing whatever else because we need to keep our audience engaged. And that was some of the negative stuff I was seeing online, like, oh yeah, if you want to fall asleep, you haven't fallen asleep in a couple of days, it's a good movie to put on because it'll put you right to sleep. It's like, really? Like, you need constant action in your superhero movies in order to be engaged? I disagree with that.
I'm not saying that it needed more action. I'm fine if there
No,
is
I'm
that
not.
dead space.
No. That you wasn't directed at you.
No, I know it wasn't, but like I'm okay if they only have a couple action scenes or if they have a lot of space there, as long as that space is being used effectively. And I really strongly believe that this is not. And it's like it could have moved a lot faster. It's so inefficient. It's taking 50 pages to do, or 50 minutes to do what could be done in 20 or 30.
It did not need to be 2.5 hours. I will
No.
agree with you there. Not at all. No. What were they? To be honest, I don't even remember what that time was used up for. Like, building up that entire beginning.
No,
I
exactly.
think
It wasn't used for anything good. Like, it took 5 minutes every time. Like, it took 3 to 5 minutes to do what could have been done in one.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I really think that regardless of who is credited for writing this movie, and I don't want to like throw too much shade at the creators, because again, I feel like there were restrictions that they were probably dealing with. I don't know what, but like, I don't think an experienced screenwriter would have done this. Like, they would move faster. Like, this isn't even like the phoned in 3-act structure template, like follow exactly Blake Snyder's beat sheet version of this. This is like, I've never read a screenwriting book version of this, and I don't know what 3-act structure is. That's what it felt like to me. I don't think it needs constant action, but that dead space was dead space. It wasn't doing anything that compelling. At least I didn't think so. Did you?
No, I guess not. I mean, I was captivated still during that time, but thinking back now, I can't remember what was happening.
Okay, captivated, or you like were still on board? Because captivated is a strong word.
Sorry, not captivated. I was paying attention still. I wasn't falling asleep.
Okay.
How's that?
I'm sorry, because I shouldn't be trying to tell you not to like this, but like, it's not good.
Yeah.
Can you get into more of why you liked it? Because maybe there's stuff here that because I'm not as much of a fan, I'm not seeing.
I'm going to look back at my chat because there was a whole bunch of, I was going back and forth. Like I said, it made sense why they put it in the past instead of the present superhero thing. Better than Captain Marvel, in my opinion. I still enjoyed Wonder Woman and Steve as a duo, and that last scene with them was pretty heartbreaking, in my opinion. Some people didn't connect to the characters, and I can understand that because I guess Wonder Woman didn't really need that much development in this movie. The thing about truth, I guess, was supposed to be the message, which is what that entire intro scene was about. The path of no lies, which is something else Maxwell Lord talked about with his son in that final speech. I feel like that could have been used a little more consistently throughout the movie because it felt like it was just in the beginning and then showed up at the end. I enjoyed Maxwell Lord as a business villain because he felt less stereotypical than most superhero business villains I've seen. It's enjoying to watch, but that could be, you could say that was just Pedro Pascal's performance. And an important thing from my point of view is the fact that he seemed to learn his lesson in the end. We don't know if he was thrown in jail or not, because we actually still don't know if the world retained those memories of what happened during that entire apocalyptic ending. But that was important to see. And I think he was the better villain compared to Cheetah, because Cheetah was supposed to be, they say it like as clear as day that she's losing her humanity. So it would make sense that you were connecting to that villain less and less over the course of time, because she was losing her humanity over time. Like I said before, the story didn't have to take place in the 80s, but it made sense why, from a realistic point of view, real world point of view. The action was still, she did some, forgive the swearing, but she did some dope ass shit in this movie too. Like, it was the convoy scene, and dude shot one of the machine gun bullets at Trevor, and she whipped the lasso back and snatched it out of the air. Come on, bro. Or where she popped the bullet out of the gun in the White House and then deflected it back at the vase to stop Maxwell Lord from running. The action in this movie was still pretty damn good.
I agree and disagree with you on the action. Those shots you're talking about, super dope. However, everything else, I feel like, or not everything else, but like every single cool moment in this movie was in the trailer, and absolutely nothing else from what I saw. The action felt mad disorienting to me. Like, I felt so disoriented in terms of space, like not just in action scenes, in most scenes, particularly in action scenes.
Okay, the ending fight scene I did not like. That was entirely shot in the dark. I didn't like that, between her and Cheetah.
Yeah, and I will agree with your point from a few minutes ago about, like, none of the action scenes, like, felt contrived. Like, it wasn't just random. Like, they did need to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's, that's true. I don't really want to call it a positive, but it's a not negative that I didn't notice. One possible way that I think this movie was made, this is probably not true, but this was the sense I got. To me, it felt like they went, okay, go make us a dope trailer. Someone went and made a dope trailer. And then they went, oh crap, we got to go make a movie to go with this trailer. So then they like had to construct scenes around their trailer shots and go.
You're saying that's what it felt like?
That is what it felt like to me, legitimately. The trailer looked cool. And then, like, even that convoy scene, like, I would say that was maybe the best action scene in the whole thing. It had some good moments, but I don't think the best action scene in this is better than the worst action scene in the first one.
What was the worst action scene in the first one?
I couldn't tell you, but I think it was probably better than that convoy scene.
Yeah, but she was also losing her superpowers the entire time, so she couldn't do all the...
It's not about that. It's just about their execution of it. Like, it just felt so disorienting. Like I couldn't tell where things were in space. It felt too chaotic. Like, I don't know, the editor felt like they might have been high doing this. Like, that really is the impression I got. There are cool moments, I will give you that. That, like, her hitting the bullet with her arm thing, greave, whatever you call that thing.
Bracer?
That's dope. Bracer, whatever it is. That was sick. But the rest of it, like, in terms of action scenes, I don't think there is a good action scene in this. There are good action moments. But, no, I did not enjoy the action in this either. And so going back to a couple of your other points there, Diana and Steve, yeah, her decision at the end to, like, she has to let Steve go to, like, get her powers back, that I think is a good choice for her to make. Like, that was a good scene that they had. I don't think it was properly developed at all.
Why?
I think because so in that, there's that moment, I forget exactly when it is, but they're like in her apartment or his apartment, I don't remember which one, And he's like, Diana, we need to talk about this, as if they'd like gone over it and like 3 times before and they hadn't. She's like, no, we're not talking about this.
Because they
He's
both
like, you know what
already
you have
know
to
what
do.
needs to happen. That's why.
Okay, but that needs to be established in a way that like it could have been better. I think that was a stronger point of it. Like they did seem to give a little more attention to doing that somewhat right, and they didn't do anything super wrong, but it was not developed enough, I thought.
Well, they're also probably counting on the fact that you saw the first movie and saw how connected they were in the first movie. So her dead boyfriend is back and they already know each other. So
I did. I don't think this reduced anything from the first movie. Like, yeah, they did some work on it in the first one. Okay, maybe that wasn't as bad as I'm saying it is. Like, maybe they developed that a bit. I felt like they really rushed that, though. And, like, especially with the amount of dead space that was in this, maybe by that point I was already mad checked out. And just, like, not really expecting it to pull anything off. And that was maybe, like, the best moment in it. Like, she had to let him die and renounce her wish in order to beat the bad guy. Objectively, I think it's good that that happened. Like, that is a solid story decision, and I did kind of feel that. Okay, part of it, too, is did the sound feel off to you? Because literally this... Yes, I had issues with the sound. I don't know if anyone else did. Maybe that was just me, but, like, the sound felt weird. And in that scene especially, there was... She, like, lets him go and then runs off. And then from around the corner, he's like, I still love you, Diane. And she's like, oh, I love you too, Steve. But, like, the sound was so weird with his voice. And it was like they dubbed it in at it, like... I'm not explaining it perfectly, but go back and watch that scene. There is something really weird in that moment after she runs, like she starts running away. He says something. It feels like something that should have been said before she ran off. Like it feels like a dubbed back in line, and the way it sounds is really weird. And there were weird sound things the whole time. Like I can't quite put my finger on how, but like. There really was something off. There was, like, no atmospheric sound or something. Or, like, places felt too empty. Or, like...
What did you watch this on?
A TV. A decent-sized TV.
Was the TV the size of the house, Evan? TV should have been the size of the house. And then you would have been in a real movie theater.
I don't think it matters what aspect ratio or size or anything. There's legitimately... something wrong about how this was produced. Maybe I just was, I don't know, but something about the way this was edited and something about the sound, like even Hans was off his game. Maybe...
How so?
Like, he didn't have anything to do. Like, that scene in the mall and he has the opera singer, like, did that not come off really weird?
I must have not been paying attention there, but I did remember the music from the when she first started learning how to fly scene.
I'm not recalling that.
She did the Jesus pose before she flew down.
I'm not really remembering that, but maybe that was a better moment. I felt like this was
way better. That felt like Man of Steel's first flight. I'm not saying it was as epic as that. I'm just saying it had bits and pieces of what that felt like when I saw that.
All right, maybe it did. That was a decent scene for him. I felt like even he was kind of off his game, and it pains me to say that as a Hans stan.
There wasn't anything too memorable from this besides the main theme and that flight scene.
But like the main theme, they barely had time. Like the couple times it came up, they barely gave it room to breathe. It'd only go for like 5 seconds, and then the scene would like have something else happen, and it would kind of necessarily have to get cut off. I love that main theme. It's super cool. Like that is like Hans at his best right there. But they barely got to use it.
You sure Inception isn't?
Inception's honestly not my favorite Hans score. I do really like it, but I think in terms of scores, like I think it's up there for him.
Which one did you say was the best? You said it before.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 might be his best.
Okay, well, we're in agreement there.
Yeah, like that's definitely top 3, definitely over Inception. he killed it with Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't know what else might be his best. The Pirates movies he does really good with. Dunkirk might be one of his best. That's not like as good in terms of score, but the way it like works with that movie, he really crushed it. I love his Wonder Woman theme. It barely got a chance to shine here though. I was disappointed.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I don't have much more to say on like the technical stuff, but really there was stuff that just felt technically wrong here. Like the scenes felt weirdly paced, like the editing was off. Like were you not lost at all in the action scenes?
Not really.
I mean, not like
I could
literally
follow,
lost.
no, like I could follow the convoy scene. I could follow. Maybe the White House scene was a little. No, not the White House scene. Like I said, that ending fight scene was pretty atrocious. I could still kind of follow it though, except when Cheetah. I think it lost me when Cheetah started swinging on those cables, and they were sparking, like. I think that's when it lost me, and then I could understand what was happening once they were both in the water, and that cable started falling. And then I thought Cheetah got clapped when Wonder Woman shocked her with the thing. I was like, oh, did she just kill her arch enemy? Okay, cool.
Yeah, same. And did we see anything with Barbara after that? I don't think
she was on a cliff in her normal form because I think. So this was unclear as well. With Maxwell Lord revoking his wish, I think that revoked everybody's wish, or renounced, sorry. I think that renounced everybody's wish, so I think that's why she was back to normal. I'm sure people are upset because that's Wonder Woman's arch enemy, so how the hell is she supposed to be Cheetah if her one method of becoming Cheetah
is now gone,
stricken from her? I just thought, theorized that they could just bring Cheetah back, but using one of her actual origins from the comics instead, if they ever do bring her back. Because she wasn't powered by I don't think she was powered by a wish stone. I'd have to watch that video back again, but she had a couple of different origins, and I think she was powered. One time she got cut by a knife and was turned to a cheetah, but it wasn't her making a wish, I don't think. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I said, I did some light research, and I appreciated the changes that they made for the movie, for the context of the movie, because yes, it would have been a hell of a lot worse if the villains weren't connected in some way. My friend mentioned he thought he's sick of superhero movies trying to shove in more than one villain, and I was like, no, this movie I think did a decent job at including two villains. I think two villains right now, until we see better. Actually, Spider-Verse did damn well with that, but they weren't all main villains. I'd say, what was it? Kingpin was probably the main villain of that.
Yeah, and then the Doc Ock that they had in that was...
Liv. Yeah.
And the Prowler. So...
And he got clapped halfway through, so... They had way more than three villains, which is what people complain about. No more three villains in movies, in Spider-Man movies. Spider-Verse did it, so shut up. And you didn't need
Are
origins
those
for all
henchmen
those.
though instead of villains?
No, they were all
like
villains
henchmen.
in their own right.
The Scorpion guy, it doesn't have a villain role though. He has a henchman role in the story.
No, well, okay. I meant the three we just mentioned: Kingpin, Liv, and
okay.
Prowler.
Yeah, I see you there. Yeah.
And then the rest were actual Spider-Man villains in the roles of henchmen. So yeah, you got that there. But I think that's why I'm praying that the Spider-Man movie, that's the Spider-Man 3 movie, which supposedly people are thinking is going to be the Spider-Verse, is live action, some type of live action version of Spider-Verse with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back. I'm really praying, because I think there's supposed to be more than one villain in this movie. They're setting up for Sinister Six, and there's been a couple of villains already established. Vulture, Scorpion was at the end of the first one. Mysterio supposedly isn't dead, or people are theorizing he isn't, which, Master of Illusion, so that would make sense. I'm really hoping this movie works so people can shut the hell up about too many villains in anything. Spider-Man 3 kind of ruined that reputation because it was the first one, I think, to try it, maybe? I know Daredevil also did it, but that was only with two villains, Kingpin and Bullseye, but people don't talk about that. Plus, that wasn't a good movie. I think they tried. They tried with these villains at least.
In Wonder Woman?
Yeah, Wonder Woman.
I'll give you that. A lot of the outline of this, I think, is good, which is, I kind of said this before, like, I think there is a good movie in here. Like, the theme of this, I think, is actually solid. Mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned, like, you like that Maxwell, like, doesn't have to get killed off. Like, he
doesn't go to jail.
Changes at the end.
He learns his damn lesson, which is something actually very rare in superhero movies, where the villain is always, they either get killed off by the superhero, which is also rare, but not as rare as this, or end up going to jail and not learning their lesson, or end up dying and not learning their lesson.
Yeah, like, there's the often used cliff that the villain can fall off of.
Disney movies are notorious for that.
Morally exempt there. By the time we got to the ending of this, I was pretty checked out. But I do agree with you. Like, I like how Wonder Woman stands for, like, faith in humanity, because that's a really refreshing thing amid, especially like Batman is a superhero that really does not have any faith in humanity.
I don't like Batman though, so.
Yeah, I like elements of Batman, and even to an extent, like, sometimes I think he, like, his lack of faith in humanity, even though I don't fully agree with it, I think it's posed well to make some social commentary in the right hands.
He clearly doesn't like humanity because he keeps letting the Joker live, and how many has Joker killed? Exactly. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm not gonna defend him there. I think you need both kinds of heroes, and we have a few too many that are on the lack of faith in humanity side. So it's nice to see one who is like Wonder Woman, and, like, you know, she kills the villain in the first one, but she does it like she's going into World War I being like, people are still good. And to their credit, like, they pull it off in a way, like, more so in the first movie, but also to a certain extent in this one. Like, she's not really naive in her, like, faith in humanity. Even though she hasn't, like, in the first one, it's kind of like, oh, she hasn't seen the world. She hasn't actually been to a real war. But, like, by the end of it, she's seen, like, the worst that war can offer, and still retains that faith. It feels solidly grounded in a theme sense. And I like that. I like that she has that. So to have her, like, convince Maxwell to, like, renounce his wish at the end, I like that a lot better than him not, and her having to kill him. I do like that. I just wish that this theme was given to someone who, like, I wish this story and this theme was put in the hands of a more competent writer, because I think it could be good there, and these are not competent hands.
That's why I gave it a 7. There's room for improvement. By no means is this movie perfect, and like you said, and a lot of people on the internet have made clear, a lot of people don't like this movie. I think it's good, but I think there's a better version of it out there, like you have also said.
Yeah. So I'm going to list off, because I kind of was talking about this a little bit just now, but there's a couple of things that I would say are good about this. They're they're more like not bads than goods, but I'll get into them anyway. I talked about earlier her decision to leave Steve so that she can defeat the bad guy is pretty good. That's a solid choice, sacrificing to do what's right and all that. It's like a better version of the Spider-Man 2 thing. Or not Spider-Man 2.
The first one, right?
Yeah, it's more like the first one, I guess.
And not like the Amazing Spider-Man, where he was like, leave my daughter out of this. He was like, yeah, you're dead. Nah.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that whenever we do those movies. But I do legitimately like that decision. I think that was a good story choice that, in the best version of this, should absolutely have been retained. Regardless of the points you're making, I think public reception of this is bad.
Yes.
However, this movie's identity is such that I think it can easily be forgotten. As far as I can tell, and you probably know better because you know a lot more about what DC's doing, but from what I can tell, it's not really messing with anything bigger than itself. This doesn't feel like it can really have much impact on, like, what's happening with the other
no, absolutely
Justice League and stuff.
No.
Right? Okay. Yeah, I got that sense. Like, it felt like they were kind of trying to keep her separate from all of them.
That's why everything was reversed in the end. There was no
no lasting
change.
consequences.
Yeah, no change to the future.
So like that was good, and like it doesn't mess with anything that would have to happen in the third one. And I saw in like a headline today, we are getting a third one.
When is it set?
I don't know. I
I'd
just saw
love to
there was a
see.
headline that like a third movie has been greenlit.
I want to see the modern day one.
I really don't know what the best time would be, but I also like literally I only saw Wonder Woman in a movie for the first time in the past 10 days. So,
Wait, did you see Batman v Superman?
I have not.
Oh well.
I vaguely know
Justice
how
League?
she Nope. I vaguely know what happens in both. No,
I love that there are people like I find that funny. Like it's actually just hilarious that there are people out there that just refuse to watch those movies unless provoked.
all I've heard are like basically bad things. I feel like you've spoken more highly of them than anyone else that I've
Oh, for sure, but I'm
heard
just a
from.
DC. Well, I like both Marvel and DC, but I'm
Yeah.
more of a DC
Although,
fanboy.
well, wait, just like without getting too off topic, what's like your basic take on both of them? Because I feel like I remember you saying when Justice League came out, I feel like I remember hearing you trash it a little bit.
I think that, and I really hated the Aquaman movie.
Oh,
Yeah, I
a lot of people liked that one better.
no, I really like Shazam. Shazam was fire in my opinion, but I think that and Aquaman were like the first two movies. Because normally, whenever I go to a theater, like I'm normally optimistic whenever I leave it, regardless if it was a bad movie or not. And now I'm starting to take a more critical stance on good and bad movies. So with this, obviously, Wonder Woman, I'm obviously biased. Like I said in the beginning, my opinion can be invalid to whomever because I am clearly biased with this. But
I don't think that makes your opinion wrong. You're coming from it. You're coming at it from a certain standpoint, and it's like it's your opinion. So,
right,
like, I'm not arguing that you shouldn't like this. I don't think it reflects badly on your taste that you do. This just like there are just writing issues with this that I cannot get past.
yeah. So I think Justice League and Aquaman were like the start of me noticing like huge flaws and just bad stuff in some of DC's movies. I think I got a hint of that in Batman v Superman, although I was really just pissed off that Batman well, it's a spoiler, but I don't know if you care at this point.
I don't care that much.
Okay, that Batman.
I mean, unless you want us to cover that at some point.
I mean, we will, but it's no secret that Batman beat Superman in that movie, and I was more just focused on that. I was like, really?
Okay.
Really? Okay.
Right, because you're a lot more of a Superman stan than, and obviously you've said
Yes.
many times, even in this episode, that you hate Batman. So,
Yeah.
so that's almost more like watching your team lose the Super Bowl for you.
Yeah. But yeah, those movies, Suicide Squad, I'm starting to know. I've seen it like maybe twice. When I left the theater the first time, I was fine with it. But the more I hear people's opinions, and I'm like, huh, that makes sense. That's normally what I do with these movies. But with this, I wanted to form my own opinion on it first, and I enjoyed it. So,
Okay. Maybe if you watch it again, you might see some of it. I mean, it's only been a few hours at this point since you've seen it. So, and again, like if you like it, I don't want to take that away from you or anyone listening to this who does like it.
as stupid as it was she was swinging on lightning with a rope, Evan.
I'm here for it. Like
That
that was fly.
That was also in the
Like,
trailer. But that scene with the whipping the bullet out the air was not in the trailer, Evan. When on the convoy.
I think I did see
When
that in a trailer. Maybe not the main one.
Okay, because she flipped. I remember the truck flipping scene was in the trailer, where she was underneath it and put the thing down and then it flipped. That was still awesome to see in the movie. But
That's what I'm saying. Like the trailer looked absolutely freaking awesome. And like all those shots in the movie were still awesome, but they were only awesome in themselves. Like everything around them I thought was kind of trash.
that, man, I wish that cheetah fight was better too. Like, why did that have to be in the dark? Maybe because they didn't want to see. I don't know if the effects. I normally wait to hear whether these effects are bad or not, and then also form my own opinion after hearing what some other people say. But I feel like they were purposely keeping Cheetah in the dark to hide like flaws in the effects with that fight, because you really didn't see Kristen Wiig's face during that fight either. Like, you saw it maybe twice during the entire fight. So I was like, oh, are they hiding the fact that these effects probably aren't polished to the finest degree?
My first thought when I saw Cheetah in the trailer, I was like, oh, somebody saw cats and learned the wrong lessons
Well,
from this.
they was still better looking than Cats.
The
final product, like,
but like, and I'm sure they were too deep into production, and also like, from what little I know, I would guess it's part of the character that like she literally becomes.
No, she's a furry, like,
okay,
and also like, people complain all the time about like the fact that like these anthropomorphic live action furry things look terrible, but like, how do you make that look good? Like, nobody can offer a solution as to, same with just effects in general. Oh, these effects are crap. Well, can you do better? I know these people are being paid to do it, but what intelligence, what assistance can you offer to make it look better? What about it makes it look bad or dated, as you say? Sorry,
I think that's totally valid to say, because like, and you've kind of alluded to this at some points, like how people are saying like X, Y, and Z about why this movie's bad, and sometimes those points are invalid. And but like that is sort of part of what I was kind of coming into is thinking I would do, because I know when I see something like I had this earlier this year with Mulan. Like, I loved the original Mulan, and I saw the remake, and it was painful, like really painful.
I saw somebody's review on it, and we could talk about that later, but I would understand why.
Yeah, like the original Mulan, it was like I still love it, and I grew up with that as like one of my favorite Disney movies. My whole family, we love that. And then we watched this new one. I don't really know if they loved it or hated it. I think a couple were fine with it, a couple weren't. I really hated it. And afterward, I went and watched like a couple of not reactions, but like breakdowns of it, both with like how there's a couple that talk about like how it reflects Chinese culture, both good and bad, and mostly I think it's inaccurate from what I've heard. And also just like how it differed from the original and made everything, like, took what the original did and made it bad. Long way of saying that was super validating for me to hear. And that is maybe what some people are feeling right now watching this. And I think some of their reactions are what you're saying. They're like pointing to things that maybe are the problem, and you're, I think, rightly saying that maybe they aren't. But I think there legitimately are some big problems with this movie, which, so I don't know if I said this at the outset, but like, what I am saying in criticism of this movie, I'm not trying to say that to just hate on it. I'm trying to say it to like validate people who feel disappointed by this, because I like, that's a terrible feeling to see a character or a story that you really love and see it not done justice. Justice League. Yes. God, I just keep on doing these unintentional puns.
Get it?
I promise I am not like setting myself up for these.
I'm forcing it.
But I keep doing it. Yep. So anyway, like another positive of this movie, or like not negative that I see, is they did not do wrong by Diana in this movie. Like, despite all of the other issues, this is still the Diana from the first movie. I don't know, I can't speak to the other two that she's in, but like, this was the Wonder Woman that everyone really liked from the first one. There's a reason that she's still iconic, or that she was iconic in the first one, and I don't think that's been taken away. Whereas like the live action Mulan felt like it was robbing everything great from this character that we all love.
I heard she had no flaws. Like,
yeah, but like, that was kind of the thing. She's we shouldn't get into Mulan here.
Okay.
I'm just gonna get upset. But yes, that whatever you heard, it was probably right. But like, this didn't do any of that. Like, going into the third one, we can still have like, there's still a possibility for great Wonder Woman movies to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't uphold the first one as like anything totally awesome. I think there's flaws in it, but I think it's like important, and I get why people love it. Like, it was legitimately pretty good to watch.
I didn't understand, like, it felt like a lot of people were like praising that first one to the highest degree, and I didn't understand that ridiculous amount of praise, but I did enjoy it. I'm not saying it was bad, but I do think the first one was better than this one.
So I think the first one is partly like context, because I think after Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman, which regardless of your own opinions on them, people in general did not like those. So going into Wonder Woman, I didn't have this experience personally. As I said, I only watched Wonder Woman this week, but from what I heard, it was like people were like, "Oh God, is DC even going to be able to be a thing?" And then Wonder Woman was like pretty solid, so people were like, "Yes, we can have good DC movies."
Yep.
So there was that, and then also like it was, of course, a big deal as like the first solid female-led superhero movie, because there had been others, but and I don't think I've seen any of them, but I've heard like Catwoman is
Elektra.
Yeah, those are not regarded highly. And like Wonder Woman the original one deserves that praise. Like it's this almost feels like a neg, but it's as good as a Marvel movie. And that was what it needed to be, I think.
To show that DC isn't complete and utter trash with their movie department.
Yeah. Yeah, and like to get this movie, like I think there's maybe like a reason why we got this before, I don't know, a Flash solo movie. There's probably other reasons too. I don't really keep up with DC, but like people seem to be way more here. Like I think people are here for more Wonder Woman movies who have no intention of seeing like any other DC movies. And I don't know if you can say that for any of DC's other characters. You can probably speak better to that, but that's the sense that I've gotten.
Well, yeah, currently, especially since the first one was so praised and non-Wonder Woman movies weren't. Yeah. I don't remember I think it was overall mixed with Shazam, and I really disliked Aquaman, and then I learned that people liked the movie, so I'm like, oh God, why? That was also a movie I don't think needed to be 2.5 hours.
Oh, it was that long?
It was, Evan, and what's crazy is that movie felt like 2.5 hours. Like no, that's a lie. It somehow felt longer than it was. Oh my God, they got to like a midpoint in that movie where it turned into a freaking rom-com out of nowhere. I was like, yo, can he... Oh man, at some point I was like, he still needs to get the freaking trident from under the sea, and they're freaking in a market sniffing and eating roses. Like, yo, can we get to that, please? I'm sorry. No.
So that's weird though. Like I haven't seen Aquaman, but that basically was my reaction to this. I was like, can we get to stuff happening? I don't understand how you have I don't know what happens in Aquaman, but I don't understand how you have that reaction to that, where the critiques I heard of that were like way too much happens all the time, and this is like mad dead space. Scene. Yes, I've heard that criticism where it's like, there's like too many weirdly timed explosions.
It was at least 3 times throughout that movie.
Yeah, but like this, I don't want to say it could have done with a couple explosions, but it could have done with like a lot less dead space. And like like how you feel is how you feel. Like it's surprising to me that you had that reaction to Aquaman when it feels like that probably could have been a very valid reaction to this.
Yeah, but no. Because like I said, it didn't feel like, because the villains had no reason to already know karate or have superpowers, like it didn't make sense for any action to be up until that point. Even then, you could maybe argue that even that convoy scene wasn't necessary. But like, yeah, the villains, until Cheetah became like as strong as she was like at that White House scene, like there was no reason for them to fight, because even once Wonder Woman found out, like, I think it was right after the convoy scene, and they said they wanted to meet up in the morning. Wonder Woman and Cheetah were still friends, and that was like the midpoint of the movie. So it wouldn't make sense for there to be a whole lot of fight scenes up until that point.
Which
and
I'm
plus,
okay
she was
with.
still trying to figure out what Maxwell, like, she had just found out that Maxwell Lord became the Dreamstone. And she was trying to figure out where did Dreamstone go? Oh, he is the Dreamstone. What does he mean by that? Oh, he's the Dreamstone. Got it. And then they met up, and they were still like pretty chilled people by then. And then they were talking about having to stop him and kill him. And then Cheetah was like, "Wait, no, you can't do that. I got superpowers. You gonna try to take that away from me?" And then they start fighting. But that was like towards the end of the movie. So
No, I get that. All of that checks out. The outline version of this, I think, is good. Like, there's a lot that in like the actual core plot of this that works. The problem with it is that the actual like mechanics of getting to those points, that's where things are off.
Yep.
Where like there are logic holes, and like it takes way too long for everything that needs to happen.
Sure.
And like that's why I really got the impression that they had someone who was like an inexperienced writer doing this. And I know there are people who are credited for the script, but I know sometimes with like, or at least I've heard that like sometimes with big projects like this, they bring a lot of people on, and sometimes the credited writers aren't really the ones who like did most of the writing. So
I think a lot of that space was contributed to building Maxwell Lord up as he got bigger and greedier with the wishes, because it started off with just him owning his company, and then it started to get build more and more. So I think that's where a lot of the space was given. Like I said, I wish they would have focused a little bit more. Like, I'm not saying soak the movie in the truth thing they were trying to portray, but I was hoping like there would be, or hoped afterward that there would be some more of that lesson sprinkled about. Because like I said, it just felt like it was for Wonder Woman and her character arc over the movie. It just felt like it was in the beginning, like, oh, it was instilled in her when she was younger to take the path of truth and no lies. And then it was just at the end with that speech, and I was like, wait, where's this coming from? Because
yeah,
yeah,
I guess it just, I don't want to like ruin it for you, but like, did Pedro Pascal's villain, like, did he not feel mad goofy to you?
oh no, it was downright hilarious, but that's why I enjoyed it.
Okay,
He felt like
I also thought like I was the only time I was like actually like I legitimately laughed when he was like on TV and it started doing the other
he
people's
was like
wishes.
grunting.
Guys like, I wish you Irish would go back to where you came from. He's, I wish you dropped dead. Like,
I wish for
I
your strength.
legitimately-
I wish for your health.
yeah,
That's why it felt like, you know what it felt like? His performance felt like Black Mass from the Harley Quinn movie. I guess you didn't see that. But
I did not.
Ewan McGregor was so much fun and like so uncomfortable, like, because he would have some scenes. He had like a scene where he made a woman strip down to like her bare dress or maybe even her underwear, I think, and had her dancing on a table in front of everybody in this club because she embarrassed him or something like that. And it's like, oh wow, that's uncomfortable. But then he went back to being goofy as all hell, and I was like, ha, this guy is funny to watch. Like, I was looking forward to the scenes that he and Pedro Pascal were in, because it was so damn goofy, it was enjoyable.
I only thought it was funny when they were doing the other people's wishes because they were just so ridiculous.
Yep.
Like the way it happened was, I wish you dropped it, and then it was like, oh, there it goes. Like,
And then
that
he was
that
losing.
I could not stop laughing.
He was losing his sanity over the course of the movie. Like, it showed with his health declining and all that because of all the wishes and huge ass wishes he was granting. And then, you know, the whole son thing at the end. I have a soft spot for any father son connections with in stories, but it was heartwarming at the end when he learned his lesson and gave his son like it had nothing to do with the wish, son. I was like, oh damn.
See, I would agree with you, except that it wasn't developed. Like I agree they did, like they were trying for something there. And like it was good that they were trying for that. It just like really came off poorly. And like the rest of the time, I like Pedro Pascal. I felt really let down watching him in this.
Really?
Not because I, yeah, not, and not because of like what he, like what his character construction was. It was just like what they had him do, where like every 10 minutes he's going, "Don't you wish it? Don't you wish it?" Like that was like. I can see how that was goofy. For me, it just felt kind of sad.
Don't you
like,
wish
watching
for
him
that to
have
happen,
do
though?
this.
Don't have them say,
Like,
I pray. Have them say, I wish.
he just like I've seen him be so much better, and he was trying hard. Like he gave it his all in this.
Oh, for sure.
They just did not give him a lot to do. I can see how you could see it as goofy like that. Personally, I didn't, but or at least for most of it. But like it, and his villain construction, like I can see there could be a good version of his villain plan as like becoming a literal monkey's paw, and I think they use that word at some point.
Yep. Chris Pine says it.
Yeah, which felt a little weird to me that they were saying the literal term. Like, I don't know if that breaks any canon or anything.
Isn't that like a universal thing, though?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think
There's
you actually explained that to me
Yeah,
earlier on one of the other episodes we did this year. And that was the first time I'd heard of it.
There's a
But
subreddit dedicated to it. It's actually really interesting because people will like post and make a wish, and then like people in the comments will be like, "Granted, but," and then give a really ridiculous thing, like say, "I wish I had all the superpowers. Granted, but you can no longer move."
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe I don't know enough about the like what a monkey's paw is to really critique it.
There's different renditions.
I'll give it a pass. So like if this did fine with that, then sure.
Yeah, I liked it.
I'll believe it. And I think his villain thing could have worked, and it felt very 80s. Also,
Good.
From what little
It's
I know
set
of
in
the
the
80s. Yeah, like that felt like sort of a Wall Street kind of mentality.
But you know what else?
Or at least the stereotype.
Like I said about Kristen Wiig, doing the whole glasses, oh, I'm nerdy thing into wearing heels and flowing hair and no glasses thing. That was a staple of 80s rom-coms, was it not? Because my friend told me I was reaching, but I don't think I was reaching. I think that made sense for the context of the movie. And you just said that Maxwell Lord was also very 80s-like. So
I see you there. However, there's a way to do it that is like it's sort of calling attention to that a little more, and in this it felt a little more clunky. It wasn't like I feel like if you do it today, at least how those kinds of tropes are often handled, it sort of the term I've heard used is like hang a lantern on it, where it's like, oh, we're doing the trope and you know it's a trope, like, and we get that you know it's a trope.
You're not going to change it.
Yeah, and this felt like more it was just doing it. Like the lady at the clothes store was like, "Oh, this dress looks great on you," and she's like, "Oh, yes, it does." Like, and it didn't feel like it was kind of, and not that I feel like it had to wink at the camera, but it didn't feel like it was self-aware enough to the point that like the audience could sort of be in on the joke with it, I guess.
Like maybe if there was like a scene when she walked back in to the office after she slept the night there and was like, it was in slow motion and like whipping her hair and all that stuff, and everybody was looking at her in the background, something like that.
Yeah, and well, and I honestly, like, I don't know what a good version of that could be, because I honestly kind of appreciate how few jokes this and the first Wonder Woman movie tried to do. Like, I get a little annoyed sometimes with how much Marvel tries to
The quips.
be jokey.
Quick.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a strong point of the first Wonder Woman movie. Like, not that there aren't a couple moments where they're trying to, like, add lightness to it and have a couple jokes, but they don't undercut things in the way that Marvel does, and I think that's something that should stay true. But like I think the way it was handled in this felt like they were using the trope. I see you there though, and like
they weren't doing enough to bring attention to the fact that they understood it was a trope and try to like Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, and that might have gone a little far. Like, I haven't seen the whole movie, but I think it's not another teen movie. It's with Chris Evans, actually, pre Captain America Chris Evans, and I think he like gets dared by some friend. He's like, you got to take like the most unattractive girl at school and make her prom queen, and they like list off a couple people that are like, and then they point to one girl, and he's like, oh no, she's got a ponytail and glasses. I'm never gonna be able to do this. Like calling out the trope of like, oh, take off her glasses, let her hair down, and like suddenly it's a complete facelift.
Yeah.
That was kind of the same trope they were trying to see. I don't know if they were trying to comment it on it here, but it was in play. Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying though with like the homage thing. Like maybe like it was kind of the time for those movies, and you know we still are in sort of an 80s nostalgia moment. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was what they were going for.
Also, speaking of homage, Linda Carter was at the end.
I was wondering about that. Mm-hmm.
She was playing
at the end
the Asteria person. That was cool.
Mm-hmm. So she's the original Wonder Woman, yep. Right? Actress.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that was there.
Yeah, I saw that at the end, and I was like, "Is that supposed to be like her like fan service thing?" And
yep, it was fan service.
Okay.
But she was as the legendary hero.
As a fan, did you feel served?
I didn't watch the Wonder Woman show, but my mom recognized who it was. I was like, oh. And she's playing as the legendary hero. This Wonder Woman spoke up. That's cool. But that was it.
I had a feeling that was what it was, but I couldn't tell for sure.
Mm-hmm. So that was Wonder Woman. This is going to be a cool new direction, though, for movies. Like the fact that Warner Brothers put this on HBO Max and in the theaters. This is also in the theaters if you guys haven't seen it yet.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you got this far into the podcast if you
mm-hmm.
hadn't seen it then. Okay. Yeah, that's the cool new direction they're going in. I enjoy it because it's like I couldn't see Tenet. They didn't do this with Tenet. So they
well, you can now. I just got my DVD for Tenet.
Oh God, you want me to buy a DVD of?
I'm not gonna rush it. We are gonna do an episode on that someday.
Evan, because I don't even know what DVD is. What is he? Tell me what DVD stands for. Evan.
Or you're not young enough for that to be funny. But yeah, I got the DVD though because DVDs.
I actually haven't bought a DVD in forever. Even for games, I've started buying digital. I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah.
HBO Max.
I don't know how to feel about the theaters thing because I really want to see Dune in a theater.
Mm.
And Nolan has come out super against Warner Brothers' decision, although I think he's being a little bit immature about it, as much of a Nolan stan as I am. I think he needs to chill out a little. I like HBO Max as a streaming service. Like, I think it's a legitimately good one.
I didn't even know I only just recently started to know how poppin' it was because my mom had given it a subscription. It's like, we have HBO Max. I was like, I don't know what that is. And now everybody has it. That's like up there with Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
They've got some fire stuff on there, bro. There's so many things I added to my list that I have to watch on there that I've never seen and have been meaning to watch at some point. There's some show. Teen Titans is on there. I've never seen the entirety of the Teen Titans original TV show from like the 2000s, but that's on there. I'm trying to watch that. They got some heat on there.
Yeah, well, they also, like, when HBO comes out with a show, I'm like, okay, I know you believe in this. Whereas if, like, Netflix puts out, like, 18 things a day,
oh, God,
that's probably even lowballing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I see HBO original, I'm like, okay, this might be pretty good. It might not, but, like, I know they believe in it, at least. Netflix original, it's just, like, it could be anything from, like, as great as House of Cards to as terrible as Bright.
I'm surprised we don't have a Netflix original. Like, we could just send in 5 pages and Netflix would be like, yep, give them a deal. Give them a whole 3 seasons.
I know, like, and part of me is, like, I feel like saying no to, like, someone who wants to make something that I've written is a bad idea, but also, like, if it's on Netflix, like just the way I use Netflix, I would never watch my movie if it was on Netflix. Like
A Netflix original. Well, not watching that.
yeah, because there's like literally 400,000 Netflix originals that they've made in the last 5 years. So it's just going to drown in this sea of Netflix originals. Whereas HBO is like, they come out with maybe one every couple of weeks. And like, they believe in it. Like, my favorite show that is currently airing right now is HBO Max. It's His Dark Materials, which I may make you watch at some point because I really like it. But I don't know. It's not that long. Season 2, I think, finishes tomorrow. And there's only going to be 3. But it's very good.
Oh, Amazon Prime Video is the other one. That's 5. Yeah, I don't think Prime Videos is necessary, but I think The Boys is what made it necessary.
Yeah, I don't know about Amazon Prime. Like, I would say if I had to have one streaming service only, I'd probably have HBO Max. HBO Max, available for $14.99 a month.
Oh, yeah. Can we talk about that price? Why is it more expensive than everything else?
Worth it, I think.
Sure.
I mean, I had HBO Now before Max was a thing. Cause
We had Go, HBO Go.
I never understood what the difference was, but I didn't have Go. But, like, a bunch of my favorite shows are HBO shows, like Game of Thrones, Silicon Valley, His Dark Materials, John Oliver, and, like, even other ones that are on there. Like, they have basically all of Adult Swim. And, like, they now have kids content, too, which they didn't used to. They used to be, like, only adult stuff. But now they own, like, all of Sesame Street, I guess, because they have, like, all of that. And then they have, like, all the Scooby-Doo stuff and Looney Tunes, stuff like that. I feel like I'm just doing an ad for HBO Max now. But...
yeah, sponsor us if you're listening, or if anybody listening works at HBO or is connected. Hook us up. Thanks.
Yeah, because we're doing this and not getting paid now, so...
Right. Imagine what we'd say if we were getting paid.
Yeah. Shameless asking for advertising money.
Hey, we gotta eat, bro.
Yeah, we gotta eat. Anyway, back to Wonder Woman, if there's more. Did you have more?
Nope. Some good, some bad. I see everybody's bad points, and I understand most, if not all, of those points. I am biased towards it, though, so I'm not going to speak too bad about it. There's room for improvement.
I'm not going to try to make you or anyone else dislike it. I don't know if I've converted anyone. That was not my intention. Like, if you like it, I think you can go on liking it. I don't think there's anything toxic in this, which is good. Like, it's not a Transformers. Like, there's nothing like that in this that I see. It's not destroying an iconic character like Mulan, so that much is good. It has its moments, like you were talking about. There's a lot of things that I hadn't noticed that you were talking about throughout this episode, where, like, a lot of movies do it. It tends to be bad, and this doesn't. All that stands. However, I really think this is an objectively bad script, and I stand by that. Like, this, I have to score things for my job on a scale of 1 to 100. It's kind of 10 to 100 because, like, the lowest score I am able to give is a 10. The best is 100. And 50 is average. Like, no script ever, I think, could get an 100 on this scale. But, like, 70 is good. Honestly, I think this would get, like, a 30-something, which is not good.
Jesus Christ.
That is the most objective thing I can say. Seriously, like, if I had to score this on the scale that I'm given, it's not my scale, I think I would have to give this, like, a 30.
So 3 out of 10.
It's not exactly a 3 out of 10. The way it works is more in terms of, like, producibility. And, like, 70 is basically like, yeah, we could go make this. Like, the first Wonder Woman would probably have been, like, a 70-something. Most movies you see are up there. Even ones that I hate. Some of my least favorite movies ever, I would still score, like, a 70 if I had to read them.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm serious
Let's end the
about
episode.
that. Here's the thing. In its best version, I would like this movie. Like, the content of it, a lot of what it's doing, I would like. The execution of it is not good. I really, sincerely do not believe that. If you don't like it, I think that is really what it comes down to. But if you do like it, that's fine. I was expecting you to not like this also, but honestly, I think it's really good that we had one of each side in this. Because it sounds like we might have caught on to effectively, like, I don't know if this is going to be a polarizing movie, but I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of neutral parties on this. So I think hopefully we were able to validate people who didn't like it and validate people who did. Hopefully. I'm sorry if I ruined any parts of it for you, because I tend to do that sometimes.
All right. We still made this shorter than the length of the movie.
We did.
Let's end out here.
Okay, boilerplate. Our next episode is going to be Space Jam.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be doing Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and then Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So we're doing the old one first and then the new one. We're also probably going to be talking about the book in those a bit. Our logo is by Kelsey Hendry. We have a Patreon. You can support us on there and hear our episodes on Tenet and the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy and more that will be coming. We also have stickers with the logo now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we are able to make like merchandise with our logo on it. So if that's something you'd be interested in, like we can make whatever you think you'd use, like shirts or coffee mugs or I don't know, maybe notebooks, something like that. If you're interested in one of those, like let us know what kind you'd want. And we might be able to like hook you up with something. You can follow the show on Twitter at INTAnalysis18. You can follow me on Twitter at Davos Watson. And where can people find you?
Twitter at Jelani T. Kelly and Instagram at Based Phoenix. I have a Twitch too, which is JBased Phoenix, but I have not uploaded in a while there. But if you want, you can follow me there as well. And YouTube, Based Phoenix. That's it.
You can also follow, we have our YouTube channel with videos on A Star is Born
Shrek.
and Shrek, and we will have another one coming hopefully pretty soon. And yeah, check those out if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.
Peace.